Welcome to Mornings with Matt. Today I've got my boy, Mr. Brian Sweeney, on the show. What is going on, Brian?
Oh, nothing much, my man. Nothing much.
Hey, dude, we got to get you a microphone, bro.
Oh, yeah, we do.
If we got no microphone, we got no sound. That's what they say.
Okay.
So we got a little late start this morning, yeah?
We did, yeah.
So what's going on with you? Got to speak in the mic. This isn't on, I don't think.
Hold on. Hello.
There you go.
Hey, there it is.
All right, let's try this again. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Matthew.
It happens like that when you don't show up in the morning that your mic doesn't work. So tell me, what's going on this morning?
I was just super exhausted from last night, and not from last night. We talked last night about just where I was at and the physical pain I was feeling. So I've just been having a lot going on with my feet and with my entire body. And basically what ended up happening was the pain just really got to me last night and really got to my whole body, really. And I was feeling it in my head, feeling it everywhere, and just was pushing through. And we crushed showcases last night. So then when I went home, that was still there. I was having a hard time falling asleep because I was still awake mentally, from everything and from the adrenaline and the excitement of everything we did yesterday. And then when I went to bed, I set the alarms and got everything set up to get up and do that. And then basically two things. One, where Joey ended up staying over with me last night, and so the alarms went off, and he usually gets up and does something with his partner. And then this morning I think they didn't because he wasn't feeling well. And last night mainly I realized my alarm, my volume stuff was low for some reason. I don't know why, but it was it's weird because my meditation wasn't last night when I played it. It was full volume, and this morning the alarm was lower.
So that brings me to a little bit of the topic I want to talk about today, which is this idea of the power of our mind and what you can do with your mind and how incredibly powerful that is. Last night we were having this conversation and we were talking about your pain. And you're in a tough spot, really. We have for those who don't know, Brian's got an autoimmune disease. And so he's been through a lot of different things. He got a kidney transplant this last year. It was a big miracle. We were all very excited about that. And now he's dealing with the aftermath of that. And I remember just the other day, I go out to the lobby and I open up this big bag, this big white bag, and I look inside, and there are so many pill bottles that I couldn't see to the bottom of the bag. And I'm talking about a big bag. And I was thinking to myself, holy moly, this guy's putting all this medication in his body every day. That's got to take a toll on you at some point in time.
Definitely. It definitely does. And each one of them sort of has its own thing. They all have little side effects and stuff that it pulls out of you, and it's meant to help you in other ways. But going into that, it just does. I talked to Dylan on the teen show a little bit ago because he asked about pain. And I basically talked about that you do have to just fight it with your mind. You do have to, because for some of us it's a constant,
Yeah.
It's a never ending, it's going to keep happening. The pain that is being experienced is a pain that for me is there all the time, and it's just sometimes it's really bad and sometimes it's barely there.
So are you saying that you essentially are never not in pain?
No, I wouldn't say never. I would, because there's some days where it's where you're not really feeling it as much, where it's barely there.
Like zero? Do you ever have zero? Do you remember what it feels like to have zero pain?
Probably not, honestly.
Really? Okay.
Zero, nothing at all.
Yeah, nothing hurts. You just wake up and you just feel good all the way around.
I would say for portions of a day,
okay,
going through, but there's probably a moment where some form of pain would come up at some point.
No, don't describe if it was a good day, an easy day. What would the pain feel like, or where would it be located, or whatever?
It might just be like a headache that comes to you, or something like that, from just the physical strain of some of what happens with the toes and stuff. And
so how much different is that than other people, though? Because at the end of a long day, a lot of people are going to have sore feet. right? And they're going to have headaches and they're going to have different things happen. So
Right.
there are some things that are just similar to other people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So this is the craziest thing. So here's what happened. Do you mind if I talk about your numbers and all that stuff?
No.
Okay. So, and have you talked to Mom yet?
No.
Oh,
I'm gonna
good.
call
So
them
this is
today.
this. No,
Yeah.
you don't have to call because now this is going to be the announcement. So Brian gets these numbers back, and here's the thing: we're all who love Brian. We are used to this numbers game with him, and the numbers game goes like this: we don't know what his health's going to be like till we get the numbers back. And I've gone through this with other family members who have had cancer and different things, where you're waiting for a report to tell you, hey, are you healthy or not healthy? And so the other day, Brian comes in and he gets one of those bad reports. So he's on these new medications, new procedures, and then just yesterday they did like a checkup on his numbers, and the numbers weren't great. Like they weren't bad, they weren't good, they were just like not conclusive, and they weren't telling us that it was working. They weren't saying they weren't working, but just as it weren't working. So that's a bummer, because you want to see the numbers and you want to see it going the other direction. And what's crazy to me is that Brian was feeling great. Like, you were feeling so good yesterday, and you've been feeling so good all week.
Yeah.
And then you get this news, and how do you not react to it? Like, of course, you react to it.
Yeah.
But it brings me to my point of today, which is the power of our mind. Like, what our mind is capable of, it's really almost scary.
Yeah.
Like, what happens to me on the inside if it's not even true, but I go to the doctor and the doctor shows me a report with my name on it that says I have cancer?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what happens to my insides because my mind is agreeing that this thing is true? It's just nuts of what our mental capacity is and how we can affect our physical state with our mental, just the thoughts that are coming out of our heads. And I saw it the other day with Joey. Joey was feeling sick, and Joey has a similar thing to Brian. And so he was feeling sick for a couple days, and he was feeling lethargic and different things. And then our teammate Shay was out and about, and she popped in for the first time in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And Joey started jumping around. I'm not kidding you, like a 5-year-old.
Oh yeah, like his entire color changed in his body because it was like
right. He went from pale white,
yeah,
to tan and bright, and he just looked healthy and happy, and literally, like, he's like, I'm back, dude. I mean, like, it was that big of a difference.
Yeah.
And then what's funny is he didn't stop. He didn't come out of the state. And then I brought it up, and I could tell that he was thinking to himself, like, oh dang. Whoops. Like what does that mean? What does that tell us?
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean that he was never sick? I'm not saying that. But it does mean that you have a lot of power with your mind to change your state and change the way you feel. And to your credit, Brian, I mean, you are an absolute testament to somebody who is willing and able to use your mind to make the best out of a particular circumstance, And I think anytime you've let yourself dive into negativity or into too much stress, or you put your focus on the wrong things, a lot of times that will, just like anybody else, will drive you to not feel good. And unfortunately, your instrument, the particular instrument God's given you, is highly sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So for most of us, if we get stressed, it's like, oh, that's a bummer. Like, I need to take a little rest and I'm fine. For you, it's like, oh, I'm stressed, hospital.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And, that was us talking last night was huge. I already felt a little better just through us praying together and talking through it. But I'd like to talk on for a second last night with that. One of the things that I was most proud of for myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's really important because we talk about it a lot as actors and as people to be progressing.
Yeah.
So normally I would not have talked about that. Normally I would have just internalized it and just dealt with it myself. And there was a huge part of me that was like so close to doing that. And instead I was like, okay, no, no. Like, you were almost out the door. You were almost gone. Like, he's literally, like, got his backpack and, like, ready to go. It's been a long day. Like, we're ready to go home. And I was like, hey, can you stay for a second? You know?
Right.
And I didn't want to. Like, I wanted to in my heart, but I didn't want to because there's this pride side of me. There's this you can handle it yourself side of me. And if I had, I would have been in a terrible place today. Terrible place, you know? And yes, I did sleep in 100%. And I'm like, right? But being able to bring it up is what allowed us to talk about it, talk about the power of mind, and talk about all these things. And that was scary for me because there's a time where literally I just continue to hold all these things in. And by doing that, verbalizing that, it gave me more power in my mind. It gave me more power to feel what I needed to feel and experience what I needed to experience.
And that was a tough position for me to be in, to think that, okay, so here you've come to me and you're like, all right, so here's the situation, here's what's going on. You know, I'm feeling just a little run down, and you know, tears are in your eyes, and what do I do? You know, so there's this fine line, right? Because I want to make sure that you know you've done nothing wrong, because I believe that. It's like, it's not like you didn't bring this upon yourself. You know, you're not trying to make this, you know, worse in any way or whatever. And then at the same time, I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to think that you have no power, that you can't better yourself and you can't find new ways to figure this thing out, you know. And so to your credit, you know, you asked for prayer, and we went there. You know, we got ourselves to prayer, and I think it was like a pretty powerful prayer.
Yeah.
And you know, I sat there and just prayed over you for about 5 minutes, and it came from the Spirit of God, the idea, this prayer, and so now what do we do? You know, what is the next step?
The next step is starting to take action together and take action on thoughts. So, for example, one of the things you advised was to start journaling just when these things start to happen.
Right.
To really just start looking at that. So last night I started that process. So I wrote down the day and went through it so that I would have that and have that to sort of reflect upon. And it's, I think, continuing to discover and remember this moment. Remember that, yeah, it's there, but going all the way back to the beginning, you asked me, is there pain? A lot of time, yeah, there's physical pain inside of my body all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. However, because of the power of the mind, there are days where there's none.
Right.
The fact that I fully overpower it.
And you don't think about it. Like, it's so crazy that there are times when your mind doesn't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my big point last night. And I think I remember saying, I don't know the answer. I mean, obviously I don't know the answer. If I knew the answer, I'd have told you a long time ago, and you'd be feeling awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do know is that I don't know. And so my suggestion was that we experiment. Was that you experiment, because it's not my job, it's your job. So my thought was, well, if we know what you're doing now is not working, why don't we try something else? And I don't know what that looks like, you know. So like I told you, my opinion was you don't eat enough.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, all right, we need more nutrients. But that means, like, it doesn't mean eat more cheeseburgers or eat more whatever. It means, like, you gotta decide, I'm going to put something in my body, a lot of something in my body that is nutritious, and it's going to feed what's going on the inside. And we try to beat this thing from the inside out. And then certain things might not work. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you could try some kind of rare radish or something, and it's a game changer.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
and then you could eat split peas, and it's like, that makes you sick. Like, I don't know. Like, I literally have no idea what the answer is. I just know that what you are doing isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
So what we got to do is we got to shift. We got to make some changes and adapt to to something new. And I brought up this point too, and I really believe this to be true. If the numbers came back yesterday and they were awesome, they were super positive numbers, I do believe you'd have been bouncing off the wall.
Yeah.
I think your body would have reacted to the news in such a way that you would have been euphoric. And this raises a whole nother question for us. And we really ought to ask ourselves this question before we start judging anybody, even this time of our lives where the government maybe has information that sometimes they share, sometimes they don't. Think about this. If the numbers were good, we both believe you would have been jumping around and your whole, like, you'd have been less puffy. You'd have had more energy. Your mood would have been better. Like physiologically, you'd have been better if you got good news, like great news, awesome numbers versus not. Agree?
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay. How the heck is that possible?
I have no idea.
That's where I just, like, mind blown, right? So I go to myself, okay, so then morally we say, okay, we deserve to know. Like, we want to know the truth. And then as a doctor, I got to ask myself, I better be careful about the information I give and how I deliver that information, because I understand that when I deliver some sort of a diagnosis, it can have a major impact on somebody. Like, I remember you said, like, this woman who really loved you, who's known you for a while, one of your nurses, when she came in to give you the last piece of news that you were going to have to be working on your kidney a little bit, that her whole body was, like, defeated, right?
Yeah.
Because she loved you and she cared about you, and she was just bummed that she had to deliver not great news to you. Well, had she skipped through the room, had she been whistling and said, hey, Brian, and super happy, and said, hey, so here's the report. It's not perfect, this and that. And she gave you the same report but presented it differently. You would have been affected differently. Mm-hmm. So then we ask ourselves, okay, so if the government, let's just say in this particular case, if the government knows a few things that we don't know, when should they tell us? I can't tell you. Like, I can't tell you what's right, because I can tell you, like, the people who say, we deserve to know the truth right away, give it to us, like, we can handle it. Like, okay, I agree. But can we? Can all of us handle it right away? I mean, look what we did with toilet paper. There is no toilet paper shortage. There really isn't. They just can't deliver it fast enough because everyone's freaking out.
Yeah.
Like, I looked it up. There's plenty of toilet paper in the world, We're still going to the bathroom the same amount of times we were going before. Like, it's not running out. It's just people are panic buying because they found out that they couldn't have it. Mm-hmm. So you ask yourself, are you more afraid of the virus, or are you more afraid of the people with the information who might overreact to information? And then, and I don't know anything that you don't know, but I'm just wondering, morally, should a government agency hold back on some information and slowly deliver it to the people so that the people can absorb it, handle it, and move on to the next thing, instead of getting it all at once and having this huge overreaction happen? I mean, imagine if we had riots and we had, like, fighting and all kinds of different things, and we're not far from that if the information is delivered differently.
Yeah. I guess it's all got to be delivered the right way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane to think about. But, like, literally, you think about conversations. You think about, like, I don't know, you and a girl, right? And you present something just a little bit the wrong way. You throw the wrong word in there.
Yeah.
It gets received the wrong way, even though intentions were good, and then boom, like, all of a sudden everything can fall apart.
Yeah, absolutely. So today's lesson, what we want to talk about, and we'll just talk a little bit more about this, and then we'll let you guys go on with your morning here. But the idea here is really pay attention to your thoughts, because what you think becomes how you feel, and how you feel becomes how you move, and it dictates your entire day. So you have to protect these thoughts up here with like, I mean, you have to be like a shining knight in the castle, just guarding the gates of your mind, and you have to realize that you are being attacked all day, every day, from the people you love, from all your media outlets. I mean, it's non-stop that people are trying to get into your mind and tell you what to think and how to think, and a lot of times it isn't what's best for you, these thoughts. So what do we do? How do we protect our minds? And that's the question. And I'm going to tell you from my experience, the way that you protect your mind is you are very aggressive about what you put in, because what you put in is what you're going to get out. What you put in your mind is what you're going to get out of your mind. So you cannot, people do not have like an unlimited amount of willpower. We just don't. You're going to fall at some point in time. Therefore, knowing that about yourself, admitting that about yourself ahead of time is the only way to overcome the fact that you're going to mentally fail. So if I know that ahead of time, what I do is I inject as much good stuff as I can, as early as I can, as often as I can, knowing that I need like 100 times more good things to overcome that one bad thing. Because the one bad thing usually becomes the thing we focus on. You know, they say even for a business, you need 100 good reviews to make up for one bad review.
Yeah.
And it's so true. It's so true. Like I remember we had, we've got like perfect ratings on Google, and we get spammed. And I don't know if it was malicious or it was just random or whatever, but we get spammed. And so we basically got 2 like 1-star reviews, and they were gibberish. Like it wasn't even a real review. And yet all of a sudden we went from a 5-point rating to like 4.2 or something like that. And I'm like, we're not a 4.2 business. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So then we rallied our troops, and we reached out to our friends and our the people who have been around the studio for a very long time, our clients and customers. And we said, hey, we got spammed. Can you guys help us out? And they did. I mean, they flooded the internet with good reviews. It was amazing. We probably got, I don't know, like 40 reviews like overnight. And it was like, it took that many to overcome the couple bad ones to get us back up to a 4.8. And now all of a sudden, those ones have been erased by Google. But it was like, that's exactly what it takes. Like to overcome something negative, it takes this overwhelming amount of good. So the lesson is inject good, inject good, inject good, inject good. Be very, very purposeful about what you put in your mind, because whatever you put in is what you're going to get out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And building on that, I think a huge part of it too is continuing to know yourself. So know what those negative things are for you, and you can sort of pre-predict some of those situations. And like you said, then you just have all kinds of positive things that you can go to, like either in your own mind or in the minds of the people who are closest to you. Ideally, if you have people near you, and you should, who are also very positive and very loving, then that's the thing I said in the beginning. Like, you go to them, like that's one of mine now is I know, like, hey, if I can't battle this on my own, if I'm hitting it with positivity and positivity and positivity, which I do a lot, and I can't, I go, all right, I got to go to Matt. Got to go to Matt and Joey. Like, need to make that happen. Like, and then that's my counteracting that battle. Like, I know that's my other sword. Like, that's
I can't agree with you more. And if I could give you one quick note, my only thought is, as you can, because you didn't used to do this at all, would be, I personally don't expect that I can battle anything by myself, not a single thing. So rather than wait until it's big enough for me to need you, I come to you immediately. You and Joey and Shay and my wife and my kids. I mean, I'll go to anybody like right away, the right source, and I'll say, hey, here's what the thing is. And we deal with it before it becomes something that I feel like I can't overcome by myself, because I don't think I can overcome anything. I think, I 100% need God, and I believe God works through other people. So, God works through me, but he also is like very powerful among the people that I'm around. And so if I hear certain things, I used to be quick to dismiss ideas that I disagreed with. And now it's like, okay, I got to check everything. I have to step back. One of the hard things right now for leaders, and this is always, but right now especially, we're being asked. I said in a podcast earlier that I got this idea from Donald Miller. He said for his company, they were changing from playing chess to playing tennis, and we did the same thing. And I just liked his analogy. I was like, oh, that's cool. So here we are. We're reacting really fast, But a good leader has got to step back. A good leader has to go, okay, we're in the middle of firing. We are in war times. I've got my gun trained, But I have my soldiers, and we're all trained. Okay, good. And now the leader's got to step back like this. Even in the midst of all the chaos, the leader's got to step back and look both ways and see what's on the horizon and make a good, calculated decision as to, okay, you know what? Let's go left.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard to do because sometimes you look up and you're going, there's no good option here.
Yeah.
So what's best option? Let's go. You know what I mean? And you make the adjustment. And if you're not willing to step back and take a look as a leader, you're never going to be able to make the right decision because you're always in the minutia of the day.
Yeah. I know I get caught there a lot where I'm just like in a certain state, especially when things get stressful and there's like stuff coming at me, and I'm learning to do this, but I will just go like into that stress and let it affect me instead of doing that, instead of taking that breath and stepping back. And we're always growing, so right away after class we look at it and go, how can we make it better? How can we take what we did and make it better for tonight's class? I mean, a great example of that was if you were watching through master class, like each day it kept getting better, you know. Eventually we added like a lunchtime song and like a little cool shot. And so in that same way, like as a teacher, sometimes when something doesn't work or on the tech end or whatever, my body will even just tense up, and there's just this like this energy where I want it to work, instead of taking that step back for a second. And like you advised me last night to just like in that moment just be patient, just be really patient, be really relaxed, and then you'll move forward and it's more powerful.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I even gave you advice in the middle of our showcase. I said, step out for 15 seconds and splash cold water on your face.
Yeah.
You know, and then just come right back in. And what happens is you get a different mindset. So, and this is, you know, leadership is something I've been working on for a long time, but everybody's got to cultivate the leader in themselves, you know. And so if I'm a leader, I want to be a leader among leaders. You know, I don't want to be a leader among followers. Mm-hmm. And so since day one, we have been training as a team, and I've been putting you guys in position to lead. Like I try to set things up and step back and let you have full control over different things. And then, you know, and then we make adjustments from there. And so yeah, the leadership thing here about taking a step back, sometimes it's also exactly what you said. You got to breathe. You have to be calm, because that tension that's locked up in your body, and you let, you know, different things come at you, and all of a sudden you got 4 or 5 thoughts going on, and there's that negativity hitting you, which is saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. It's not true. It's not true. Mm-hmm. Yes, some things are stacked against you. Yes, like things are going wrong, etc. Cool. There may not be a best. There may not be a good answer, but there's going to be a best answer.
Yeah. And
only by stepping back, taking a look, taking a breath, relaxing, and going, okay, there isn't a good option, but there is a best option of all the bad ones. Let's go this way, which will get us closer to a good option.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, everybody, this was Mornings with Matt. Thank you so much for being on the show, Mr. Brian Sweeney.
Thank you for having me, my friend. That was really fun.
For those of you who don't know, Brian has been the producer of the show since day one, and he's killing it. Like, he lines up different guests, and he's been doing just above and beyond help with me, and I didn't even ask for it. Like, he just came up with this stuff and did it all on his own, and you have been such a light for me and for this morning, and you've made it happen. Like, I really, really appreciate what you do. So you guys don't see him all the time, but he's here just about every day, and you know, helping run the show. So I appreciate you, Brian. And for those of you out there listening, I want you to think today about the power of your own mind, and what you have control over today is nothing other than your thoughts, nothing other than your connection to spirit. So focus on those thoughts, listen, relax, and find best answer today. There may not be a good answer, but there's going to be a best answer. And by going by the best answer, the best move, you'll eventually find your way to a good answer. You'll find your way to something that's really going to lift up your life and be joyful. So that's our show. Thank you so much for watching Mornings with Matt. Please like and subscribe to our channel. And that's a wrap, Brian Sweeney.
That is a wrap. Woo!